Long ago, King David ruled Israel with courage and faith, guiding his people through many battles and challenges. He was known for his deep trust in God and his wisdom in leading the nation. Under his rule, Israel grew strong and prosperous, and the people looked to him as a shepherd who cared for his flock. But as the years passed, David grew old and weary. His once mighty hands trembled, and his days as king were coming to an end. The nation waited anxiously, wondering what the future would hold. Many wondered who would be the next king. Advisors whispered in the palace halls, and the people speculated about who would wear the crown after David. Among his sons was Solomon, not the oldest, but chosen by God for a special purpose. Though he was young, God saw something in Solomon's heart that set him apart from his brothers. The palace buzzed with rumors and schemes, especially as David's ambitious son Adonijah tried to seize the throne for himself. He gathered supporters and plotted in secret, hoping to become king before David's wishes could be made clear. But David acted swiftly to protect God's plan. He declared, "Solomon will be king after me." This royal proclamation echoed through the palace, leaving no doubt about who would inherit the throne. David ordered Solomon to ride his own mule to Gihon Spring, a sign of royal authority. There, the priest Zadok and the prophet Nathan anointed Solomon as king, pouring sacred oil on his head in a powerful ceremony witnessed by many. Trumpets blared, and the people shouted, "Long live King Solomon!" The joyful noise filled the city, and hope rose in the hearts of the people. The city erupted in celebration. Everywhere people danced and sang, rejoicing at the dawn of a new era. Adonijah's followers realized their plan had failed and fled in fear, knowing that Solomon was now the true king chosen by both David and God. Solomon began his rule while David was still alive, learning from his father and gaining the trust of the people. Before his death, David gave Solomon this advice, words that would shape the young king's reign and guide him through difficult times. Be strong, obey God's laws, and walk in his ways. David's final words were filled with wisdom, urging Solomon to lead with integrity and faith. With his father's blessing and God's choice, Solomon stepped into his destiny as king, ready to serve his people and honor God's will. The young prince, full of promise, now carried the hopes of a nation. All eyes were on him as he took his place on the throne. The transition was not just about power, but about following God's plan for Israel. Solomon knew his responsibility was great, and he sought wisdom to rule well. Solomon's journey as king began with both challenge and celebration. There was joy, but also uncertainty, as he faced the task of uniting the people and leading them wisely. The people looked to him for justice and wisdom, hoping he would be a fair and righteous ruler who listened to their needs. Thus, Solomon's reign began, a new chapter for Israel filled with hope, expectation, and the promise of greatness. The story of his kingship would become legendary, inspiring generations to come with tales of wisdom, faith, and the courage to follow God's call. Early in his reign, Solomon traveled to the sacred city of Gibeon to worship God, seeking guidance as a young king. Gibeon was known for its ancient altar, a place where many before him had prayed, and Solomon wanted to honor God at this holy site. That night, as Solomon rested, God appeared to him in a dream. In the quiet of the night, a divine presence filled his mind, and God spoke, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Solomon could have asked for riches, victory over his enemies, or a long and easy life. But instead he humbly replied, "I am young and do not know how to lead. Please give me a wise and understanding heart, so I can govern your people well and know right from wrong." God was deeply pleased with Solomon's request. "Because you have asked for wisdom and not for wealth, power, or a long life for yourself, I will give you a wise heart, wiser than anyone before or after you. Your understanding will be unmatched," God added. "And because you did not ask for riches or honor, I will also give you both. No king in your lifetime will compare to you in wealth and glory. You will be admired by nations far and wide." God promised even more. "If you walk in my ways and keep my commands, as your father David did, I will give you a long and blessed life." Solomon awoke from his dream, filled with gratitude and awe. He realized that God had truly spoken to him, and his heart overflowed with hope and inspiration for the future. He returned to Jerusalem, the city of kings, ready to rule with the wisdom and understanding God had granted him. The people awaited his leadership, curious to see how this young king would rule. Solomon's choice to seek wisdom over riches or power shaped his entire legacy. His decision would echo through history, remembered by generations to come. He became known not for his wealth or military might, but for his deep understanding, compassion, and fairness in judgment. People from all over came to seek his counsel. The people of Israel rejoiced, grateful to have a king who valued God's guidance above all else. Their trust in Solomon grew as they saw his wise decisions. This dream marked the beginning of Solomon's legendary wisdom, a gift that would guide him through many challenges and triumphs. His reign would be defined by the gift he asked for, a wise and discerning heart, able to see beyond appearances and understand the truth. Solomon's humility before God set him apart from other rulers. He knew that true greatness came from serving others and seeking wisdom, not from pride or power. The world would soon witness the power of a king who valued wisdom above all else, and whose decisions would bring peace and prosperity to his people. Solomon's story was just beginning, and the days ahead would reveal the true strength of a wise and understanding heart. The kingdom awaited his wise leadership, hopeful for a future shaped by the wisdom God had so generously given. News of Solomon's extraordinary wisdom spread quickly throughout the land, reaching every corner of his kingdom and even distant nations. People spoke in awe of his ability to solve the most difficult problems and bring justice where others could not. One day, two women arrived at his court, both desperately claiming to be the mother of a precious baby boy. Their voices trembled with emotion as they pleaded their cases before the wise king. With no witnesses to support either side, it was one woman's word against the others. The tension in the courtroom was thick, and everyone watched anxiously, wondering how Solomon would decide. Solomon listened carefully to both women, weighing their words and their emotions. Then, in a move that shocked everyone present, he called for a sword to be brought before him. He declared, "Cut the living baby in two, give half to each woman." The court gasped, unable to believe what they were hearing from their wise king. The true mother, overcome with love and fear for her child, cried out, "Please give her the baby, just let him live." Her only wish was to see her son safe, even if it meant losing him. The other woman, showing no compassion, agreed to divide the child, revealing her lack of true motherly love. Instantly, Solomon recognized the real mother. "Give the baby to the first woman, she is the true mother," he proclaimed, his voice filled with certainty. The entire court was amazed at his wisdom and the clever way he revealed the truth. People whispered in admiration, realizing they had witnessed a moment of true justice. This story quickly became legendary, retold for generations as a symbol of Solomon's unique ability to see into people's hearts and uncover the truth. People everywhere marveled at his insight and fairness, and parents would tell their children about the wise king who could solve even the most impossible disputes. The nation trusted their king to judge wisely, knowing that his decisions brought peace and justice to all. Solomon's wisdom brought harmony and respect to his court, and his people felt safe under his rule. His reputation grew far beyond Israel's borders, as travelers and rulers from distant lands came to hear his judgments and seek his counsel. The story of the two mothers became a timeless example of wise leadership, inspiring people everywhere to value truth and compassion. To this day, Solomon's name is remembered as a symbol of justice, wisdom, and the power of understanding the human heart. God's promise came true. Solomon's kingdom overflowed with wealth. Gold and silver were as common as stones in Jerusalem. Solomon made shrewd trade deals, and his ships brought treasures from distant lands. Exotic animals, gold, silver, and ivory filled his storehouses. He traded horses and chariots, making Israel a center of commerce. Control of key trade routes brought steady income to the kingdom. Solomon's palace glittered with gold. Even his drinking cups were solid gold. Kings from around the world visited, bringing gifts and seeking his wisdom. Israel's prosperity under Solomon was unmatched. The splendor of his court became legendary. People traveled from afar to witness the golden age of Israel. Solomon's wealth and wisdom made him one of history's most famous kings. One of Solomon's greatest achievements was building the temple in Jerusalem. This dream began with his father David, but God chose Solomon to fulfill it. Solomon asked King Hiram of Tyre for cedar wood, and Hiram gladly helped. Massive teams of workers cut trees, quarried stone, and prepared materials. The stones were shaped perfectly at the quarry, so the temple rose in silence. No sound of hammer or chisel disturbed the holy site. The project took 7 years and involved thousands of workers. The temple was to be the most magnificent building in Israel. It would house the Ark of the Covenant and become the center of worship. Solomon's dedication to this task showed his devotion to God. The temple united the people in faith and purpose. Its construction marked a new era for Israel. When the temple was finished, it was breathtaking. Inside, cedar walls were carved with flowers and angels, then covered in pure gold. The holy place held golden lampstands, a table for sacred bread, and an altar for incense. Beyond a beautiful curtain was the most holy place, where the Ark of the Covenant rested beneath golden cherubim. Solomon gathered all Israel for a grand celebration. Priests carried the ark into the temple and a cloud filled the building, a sign of God's presence. Solomon prayed, dedicating the temple to God. For 2 weeks the people feasted and rejoiced. The temple became the heart of Israel's worship. Its beauty and holiness inspired awe for generations. Solomon's temple stood as a symbol of faith and unity. The people felt God's presence among them. Despite his wisdom, Solomon made choices that would trouble his reign. He married hundreds of foreign princesses, forming alliances with neighboring nations. These marriages were political, meant to secure peace and trade. But God had warned Israel not to marry those who worshipped other gods. Solomon ignored this command, believing he could remain faithful to God. His foreign wives brought their own gods and customs to Israel. Solomon's heart was divided between his love for his wives and his loyalty to God. This decision would have serious consequences. The king's wisdom could not protect him from the dangers of compromise. Solomon's alliances brought peace, but also spiritual danger. The seeds of trouble were sown in his many marriages. As Solomon grew older, his wives led him to worship foreign gods. He built shrines and altars for idols around Jerusalem, turning away from God's commands. The king who once prayed for wisdom now bowed to false gods. God was angered by Solomon's disobedience. He declared, "Because you have turned from me, I will tear the kingdom from you and give it to your servant." Yet for David's sake, God promised not to do this during Solomon's lifetime. Only one tribe would remain for Solomon's son to rule. The United Kingdom began to unravel. Solomon's choices brought sorrow to Israel. The Golden Age was ending. Disobedience had a heavy price. The nation would soon be divided. Solomon's heart, once wise, had strayed. Solomon reigned for 40 years, achieving greatness and making grave mistakes. After his death, his son Rehoboam became king, but the kingdom split in two. The united Israel was lost, a result of Solomon's divided heart. Yet, Solomon's wisdom is remembered to this day. The story of the two mothers is told worldwide as a symbol of just leadership. Solomon built the magnificent temple, the center of Jewish worship for centuries. He is credited with writing Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and the Song of Solomon. His words continue to inspire and teach. Solomon's life is a lesson. With God's blessing we can reach great heights, but turning away brings sorrow. His legacy endures in wisdom, faith, and caution. The story of Solomon remains a powerful reminder for all generations.